to another episode of the Diaspora Dialogue Series with LA. I am Lillian Agbeyegbe, your host on this program. You're listening to us, watching us from some social media platform, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Instagram, somewhere. You know what to do, right? You've got to like, you've got to share, you've got to comment, and let us know what you think about this podcast. On the Diaspora Dialogue series, we're having conversations with members of the diaspora and trying to find out what were they doing before they came to the diaspora and how are things going out here in the diaspora. How are they navigating the obstacles? And yes, we get to talk about home. Their connections to home. Does it still exist? Have they forgotten about home? Or is there a craving? You will get to find out through the lenses of Aramide Adeyemi today. Aramide, I'm excited to welcome you to the Diaspora Dialogue Series with LA.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lillian. I appreciate the invite. Super excited to be here too as well.
Great. So I know you, aside from what people can see right away, she's a very pretty lady, and they see Aramide behind them. But let's get to meet you and know a little bit more about you. So can you tell us some things about you, who you are, and where you are in the diaspora?
Absolutely. Name again, like she said, Dr. Aramide Adeyemi. I live in the DMV area, Maryland to be precise, married with 3 children. And I have a business brand that I run, Aramide, as you can see behind, which comprises of the Aramide fashion brand. We also have consulting, design, and we do procurements too as well, which is through Aramide Promo. And we also have Aramide Gives, which is a nonprofit that is focused on youth and mental health awareness.
Great. You're wearing several hats there. There's a business, there's a philanthropy aspect of it. But let's go back to the very beginning. Aramide was once a little girl growing up. How was it like growing up, and what did you think the future entailed for you when you were a child?
So growing up, I was always a big dreamer. When I didn't go out much, it was funny. Matter of fact, people didn't actually know I was part of that family. They used to always say hermits because I didn't go anywhere. And I would just like to read books and I would dream big and I would just look up and say, what did I want to be? And I would just always imagine nothing was impossible as long as somebody else always achieved it. Well, born here, but my parents relocated back to Nigeria and we attended school like a lot of people that were born here. They went back to Nigeria, which I'm always grateful for because it allowed me to experience both worlds. Did high school, which people call, high school, but they call it college back home, but it's high school. I went to a boarding school, Federal Government Girls College at Akure. And when I finished, I didn't do my university in Nigeria. I actually came to the US to do my university higher education. But while I was in Nigeria, same thing, like most other people, with the family, elementary school, went to Mayday. I believe that was in Isolo, if I'm not mistaken. It was a private school. But yeah, I was very much a homebody when I was growing up. I didn't go out that much. And then when I got a little bit older, when I was in secondary school, I believe at some point I gave my life to Christ and I was very committed in the youth ministry, which I'm still passionate about up to today about the youth because I feel like they play a very significant role in youth as they get older. So, well, to some people that would be boring, but that's pretty much what I did when I was growing up. And of course, during the holidays, we would go out with the family and all that stuff, but I didn't do anything too crazy or anything like that.
Awesome. That's good. So she was into books, reading, spending time by herself, had been born in the United States, went back to Nigeria, went back to school. At the time where you went, went back to school and growing up, did you know for a fact you were going to come back to the US at some point in time, or?
Yes. So my dad relocated a few years back because my parents studied over here in the US. That's where they met each other and they got married. And we're five, and they had 3 out of 5 of us. So we've always known we're going to come back. And it was crazy because I never wanted to come back, but I didn't. But one of the reasons that I came back to the US was all the horrible stories about I heard about university, about the cold. So that was scary to me. I was like, okay, I'll go. But yeah, I've always known I was going to come back. And then my older sister was already back. And interesting, my younger sister came right before me when my mom relocated here too as well. But yeah, I've always known I was going to come back.
Great. So how has it been navigating your professional life since you came back? You didn't go to college in Nigeria. You came and went to college here. Do you have any recollection of what it was like going to college here, and based on some experiences? You had an older sister, so I don't know whether she went to college in Nigeria, but did you have any knowledge about college in Nigeria? And can you just post that on your experience with going to college here?
Well, not really. I didn't really know much. Like I said, the only thing was what I heard and the experiences people went through. They talked about cults and all that crazy stuff. And I was like, I don't want to be part of that. But I know there was always a lot of strike, where the students would be out of school. And I was like, I didn't want to be part of that. So, but, I was grateful for the opportunity that I could come back here. So just to confirm, are you asking me about my experience here in college, or you're just
Yes,
asking?
your
Yeah,
experience.
yeah,
So
okay.
after you came back, how
Yeah.
easy was it for you to fit in?
Okay. Yeah. So when I came here, we actually lived in Waldorf, and that's where we stayed. And Waldorf were predominantly a lot of Caucasians. So I started by going to Charles Kennedy Community College, and most of my friends were Caucasians at the time. And we went to a Caucasian church too as well. So coming from Nigeria and going to a Caucasian church was a big adjustment, but they had a lot of love. I can't remember the name of the church now, but it was so much love. It was like, you didn't even notice the color of your skin. It was amazing. And pretty much all my friends were Caucasians at the time when I was in school. And of course, when you had folks that would come visit when I came back, because I came straight after high school here, and then I started college immediately. Yeah, so it was, I had to adjust because it's like you're going from A to Z. And of course, with this way they were speaking, it's like, okay, I didn't quite understand initially. It was hard for me to understand initially because we were talking so fast. I'm like, what exactly did people say? So, I mean, but it wasn't too long because that's predominantly most of the people you hang around. So I
Mhm.
got used to it, but it wasn't bad at all. And from Waldorf, moved to Laurel because my parents were there. There was pretty much no one there. I think we went to go visit one of my cousins. Like, what exactly are you guys doing in Waldorf? And so I come over here to Laurel, PG County, and Laurel till I got married. So pretty much Laurel, we lived in Laurel. I attended PG College. I transferred to PG, and from PG went to Bowie State University, where I completed my undergrad and transferred to. I completed my undergrad, and then I started my master's, but completed my 2 masters and a master's certificate in University of Maryland Global Campus, and my doctorate at Liberty University. So it's been an amazing experience. And every time I kept going for more, was I always had a desire to always wanted to learn. How can I be better? How can I do better? And I have this strong belief in me that if someone can accomplish something, then
Mhm.
nothing is impossible for me to do. As long as one person's already done it, then I can do it too. I've always been a big dreamer, and I always felt like nothing was impossible.
I feel that's a tweet right there. If one person has already done it, then I can do it too.
Absolutely.
You talked about coming and living in Laurel until you got married. So you got married, you say you have 3 kids. What has your experience been with raising your kids here and the time you spent in Nigeria? Do you see some parallels, or is this like
Who is different?
night and day?
Night and day. Uh, when we were growing up, I mean, this generation is different. One, I think that it's harder for them because of the exposure. The opportunity we had, the innocence we had growing up, and a lot of things that I knew after I came here. These kids probably already knew way before. But it's different, and it doesn't help because of the school system gives
Mm-hmm.
them a lot of liberty. Says, oh, you're grown, you're an adult. Yeah, but the parents have paid the bills in medical, right?
Yeah.
They say they're grown. And it's tough because when you're trying to teach your kids something and then you have other parents that are completely opposite. So it makes you sometimes look like the villain when you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to instill the values. But one thing is sure, you can't raise your kids the same way our parents raised us. A lot of us, our parents showed us tough love. Some people were expressive, but we understood what they were saying. This generation is different. Some people say, oh, they were traumatized growing up. Oh, please. The way we grew up. So, but it's different. You have to be very intentional with this generation, is one of the things. You have to hear what they're saying. Our parents could say, shut up, I don't want to. That was very common. I don't care what you have to say, just do what I'm asking you to do. You can't really do that with this generation. You feel like you have to like go through the step one, step two, like, hey, this is exactly why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. I'm explaining to you, this is why no. And it's okay. And one thing I've learned, and I've been perfectly okay with it, is they don't have to like anything I'm saying. It's for your own benefit. And I think having that grounded, where you have a village, you have the dad, the mom, and all that stuff, because the mom could be, but having those two, at least for me, helped us to have that great balance. Because sometimes I may be the tough one and he's the, okay, I'm hearing what you're saying. And sometimes I'm the, okay, let me hear what you're saying. It's like, I don't want to hear anything you have to say. So it's like creating that balance has kind of helped us. But also, I would definitely say having a godly foundation has been a great pillar for us. The same way he helped me is one of the things. And, one of the things that difference in raising kids is this generation, the way parents are very dedicated to sports. Our parents just cared about books. They don't care about no sports. If you like go to AAU or whatever you call it, it's like they're not worried about that. They just want a doctor, a lawyer, a pharmacist. And it
Mm-hmm.
was, but it's different. It's like you're letting them know that you're being intentional. Like, I hear you. I
Mm-hmm.
care about what matters to you, but still creating that boundaries and saying, okay, fine, A may be doing this, but we don't do this here. And reminding them about where you come from. This is what we do. And if the opportunity arises, one of the greatest fundamental things I believe is parents should let their children go back home. And we did that intent. We haven't done that every year, but when we had the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity, we've taken them. And one of the things is, yes, they're there to have fun, but I also wanted to make sure that they saw the reality of how things were. They were like, wow. It allowed them to also appreciate. So yeah, so definitely this generation is blessed. Like I was telling my daughter, I said you're extremely blessed. I had to do a lot of things by myself when I came here. I had to figure, my parents were here, but their generation is different. Some of the things that we are very informed, very
Mm-hmm.
intentional about school. Our parents knew, but to a certain extent, but we're more tech savvy. We're more
Yeah.
into all these things. Okay, my kids are telling me about school. I know the best time to register for school. I've pretty much been in school for several years, and I just finished my doctorate several
Mm-hmm.
years ago, but still I could tell you how it works. I can give you ideas. They were working, they were hustling. That's our parents' generation. It's different. It's night and day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So many things you say, you said that take the children back home for them to see. I remember when my nephew went home for the first time and I was asking him, how did that go? And he was like, Auntie, they beg. Everybody was begging. And he's a big guy, even though he's a young person. So I guess maybe they were deceived by his size and
Yeah.
he was an adult. But it's like to know that people have so much need, and that they beg. So that was a thing to take them home to see the reality and listening and leaning on them. My daughter is in chair and she wanted to do. I was like, no, there's debating society.
Niger parent.
No, there's debating society. No, there's writing club. No, there's like, I'm like, what is cheer? But to find out, like you said, listen to them and lean in and to find out that they actually hired a cheer coach, like somebody actually applies to be, I'm like, this is a job.
You'd be surprised.
Somebody actually applies to be, so this is a big deal for them. You know what you were saying about the difference with the generation and our parents. Your parents were going to school here, but they probably didn't go to PTA meetings, because when I would go to PTA meetings sometimes, there'd be like only two or three black people in the group. I just like, all the other parents are like, whatever you guys decide, as long as they're going to school, it's fine. But the PTA meetings, they're looking at the curriculum, they're looking at the principal, they're advocating for the principal to resign. I'm like, yeah, yes, putting their minds in all of those things. So really very interesting to see the difference between how we were raised and how you raise kids here. And you talked a little bit about parents always wanting you to be a doctor or lawyer, engineer. They had all of these tracks picked out, the average Nigerian, average African parent. So how did you end up owning your business? Did you see a lot of, you know, Black people, Nigerians who own their business? Where did that inspiration come from, as it were?
And then the shoes are not comfortable. I remember in college, you want to go out, it was like punishment and torture. Oh God, you got to wear
Mm,
these shoes, and it was
mm,
uncomfortable.
mm,
And so I thought about those things about me when I was like, okay, when someone walks in, you have people that have style. They may not know how to put it together. Well, that's why you have people like us. They don't know how
mm,
to put it together, but they want to look good. And okay, I
mhm,
may have the money, but I don't know where I'm supposed to go.
mm,
Okay, I don't want to feel like an alien, but everywhere I go, it makes me feel like I'm a hippo because they don't have my size. So helping people understand their body type, I found out, and it impacted a lot of women's confidence. And when they come to the store, for example, even some women that they would buy the most expensive designers, I don't think you have to spend thousands and all these bags. I've never been one that tripped over the most expensive things. I'm
mhm,
not bragging, but I can literally walk into a room and everything you're wearing, the pieces can be thousands, and mine could be 200, and I'm still going to beat you hands down. It's all about the
mhm,
way you feel and knowing wearing the
mhm,
right pieces that matches your body and
mhm,
carry that confidence as you go along. A lot of women don't have that. That's
mm,
why they compensate by spending so much, even if
mm.
they can't afford it. They go in
Yeah.
debt. I mean, if somebody, I always say this, if someone said, can you buy me a 25, at least for now, ask take $50,000 or $100,000 to buy this handbag, I would say, give me the money. Sure. I would go invest that money in real estate. Are you kidding me? No, I'm not. Yeah. So it's like
Mm.
confidence is not in how much your clothes cost. It's
Yeah.
not about, I'm not saying you shouldn't wear nice things because I do like nice things. I'm not saying you should be a cheapskate, but that's what defines a lot of people. And that's coming back to your question. That's part of what inspired the birth of
Yeah.
Aramide. Aramide has been coming gradually. It was birthed, it was going through stages before we
Mm,
went through the administrative legal process of Aramide being formed. But really,
mm.
Aramide has been birthed way before the business was formed with the IRS or with the state of Maryland.
Awesome. So you've come a long way really working with women and knowing
Yes.
that it's not all about the money. This is something you have
No,
to do about yourself as well to get to that next level. Was there
absolutely.
any time along the way where it was like, okay, you know what, this was a good idea, but maybe not?
No, when it comes to challenges, I think some of the greatest challenge has been there's going to be challenges, but have I ever gone to a point that says no? No. Even in the midst of when you go through challenges, I look at it as a way of, okay, it's time for the next step forward. We're moving on to the next phase. What do I need to do to improve? Every challenge or stumbling block I've faced along the way has been a stepping stone to the next phase of Aramide. And because I'm not just doing this because, yes, I want to make money, of course. We want to make money and convert our skills to dollars, but I really love what I do and transforming lives. So it's going to be really hard for me to say, oh, I wish I didn't, because I started this before I started making money. The money is definitely a good plus, but no, I haven't. I hope I don't get there, but
Mhm.
I haven't felt that way.
Great.
Inspiration came from, I've always had a desire to help people. And it pretty much started off as while I was in school, and if I saw someone that that I noticed that they were going through a challenge, maybe they wanted to lose weight, it impacted their confidence. I was very active physically exercising. So I would say, hey, would you like to go to the gym with me? And then I would kind of help them. I mean, I was not a trainer, but I helped in the best way that I could. In the process, when they went through that body change, what are some of the things? The first thing is their wardrobe, right? And I would have a little bit of money because they may not have any money. And then I would say, okay, let's start with the basic pieces. Let's do maybe a blue or black, brown pants, and then we'll do a nice top. And I just saw how it lit them up. And then sometimes I would give some of mine. I didn't have a lot of money, but I just would give whatever I could. And then I would save to help them go to great places where I could buy things, outlets and things like that. And then I would help them sometimes they would say, okay, after I put it together, they would say, oh, can you help? And I wouldn't charge them or anything, but I did it for several years, but I loved it. And I would collaborate with maybe a makeup artist or someone doing hair. And I would just love how I helped transform their look. Because I feel like if you help someone feel good about themselves, it reflects in the way they look and how they carry themselves. And so that's how I really started. When I started Aramide, I thought I could do profits and non-profits. But when I first registered, they said you couldn't do that. So I didn't learn from registering. I learned on the job. Everything I did ground up. I learned by myself. I learned how to register myself. I learned how to do everything. So it's like I Googled, I did my search, I asked questions. Because I was, very private person. And I would very private, but I didn't really, this was stuff in the works. I just played as I moved along, and I just, okay, I think I want to do this. And I did my research till Aramide was formed. Again, at the beginning, it was confusing about profit or nonprofit, but that's how it was formed. And then I purchased a few pieces that I would do speaking engagements, and I would go for women events, and I would say, okay, this is how you put these pieces together. You would do this together, and people would invite me. I didn't charge anyone. I just loved it. And from then, like, oh, I like this. Can you get this for me? I started getting more stuff. Then eventually I was like, okay, I want to design my own brand because I found out that for me, I'm putting myself out there. I wear size 11 in shoes. When I was growing up, it was very hard for me to get shoes. I was always very frustrated. So that was an inspiration of why I'm very passionate about plus size people too as well. Because when I went into the store, a lot of times I felt like an alien. Like the ugliest shoes were a size 11. And I'm like, okay, this is not going to work for me. I love style. I love swag. And if I wear my shoes, you don't have to know I'm wearing size 11. And I loved it. So that's why our collection is like from small to 5X, because that's not common everywhere. Most places you go to, they stop at like size 10. And if they have an 11, it really is a 10 because it's cut narrow.
So Aramide is up and going and you're pushing it. And at the same time, you're going back to school, getting a master's and a second master's, and then going to get your doctorate. How are you managing all of this, and what's the motivation?
Like I said, God is definitely my strength and my source for sure. And my husband always says, you're just an alien. You're not a normal person. Like he said, I don't know what kind of person you are. Like, you're not normal. Like the things you do. He literally says that. It's like, I just, I like I said, I've always had, I'm pretty self-motivated. Uh, if I believe nothing is impossible, when I put my mind to something and I know I want to do it, unless God tells me not to do it, I'm gonna do it.
Great.
So I've always been, and I think, let me just add this. I think the drive to want to be better, the quest to how can I improve, and that's what led me to the 2 doctorates and a master's certificate. I was saying, okay, how can I improve in this area? Okay, let me just take a few classes to. I already earned my MBA. I said, oh, let me just take a few classes in the project management to become, not just take the certification, but I want to understand the different processes. So from certificate, I was like, the advisor was like, do you realize you only have a few more classes to get your master's? I said, oh, yeah? Okay, let's go for it. So that's how I earned second master's, and I had the master's certificate and the MBA. So that's what led to it.
Wow, that is so impressive. And you're doing all of this and doing the business, and then the nonprofit came alongside. So I know you've always wanted to help people. You said you're helping them, you know, to make the most of their money, building up their confidence. When did you start your nonprofit, and what are you doing in the community?
So Aramide nonprofits just got incorporated about 2 years ago. But like I said, since the business was formed, Aramide was already giving back, but we did not get our 501(c)(3) until about 2 years ago. But what have we been doing in the community? So what we do is, which we've received proclamation from the previous mayor and the current mayor, we're involved with summer safe programs. We do speaking engagements. We've done things with the local schools in the area, helping kids with the prom, helping those that are less privileged. But a lot of the educating, dress for success, um, confidence, teaching them etiquette skills. And when you talk about dress for success, yes, we hear a lot of yeah, so Dress for Success, all those programs, we give back. The Aramide gives, donates clothing. We also do things international too as well, but we do a lot of events with a lot of the youths, like back to back within the last 2 years. And current mayor was in a youth program, and we've been part of it for the last 2 years. And I was also a youth mentor for many years with Best Kids in DC for over 5 years, where I was a mentor as well.
Wow, that's impressive. That's impressive. And people say the youths are the future, so it's really
They
very
do.
important to
They do.
keep them going and get them the things that they need to be confident. So I want to look a little bit about you leaving Nigeria, coming back to college, but you take your kids back home. So what do you love most? What do you miss? What do you, if you had the best of both worlds, what do you wish that America had some of that Nigerianness in it?
First, I do try to go back home at least once a year. I always, because of my business, so I do go back at least once a year. Uh, what are some of the things? Two completely different cultures. Um, I think awareness of the African community, which people are becoming more with Afro beats, and then you hear people talk about the egusi soup and all this food. But back in the days, they were looking like, oh, did you climb on trees and all that? So I think people are becoming more educated about the African continent. I mean, there's been different trips I've traveled to Nigeria. I literally see African Americans on the plane. I'm like, what are you? Oh, I'm just buying my ticket. I just heard Lagos is fantastic, and I'm a traveling nurse, and I just wanted to take a break, and I'm going to Nigeria for a month. Okay, so it's creating that awareness. They want to be
Mhm,
part of something. They want to be part of
mhm,
it, and so I would say, what are some of the things that could, I think the awareness is definitely educating them on the African community, because, before they would look down and think that maybe we just came from the cave. But I
mhm,
think that when they're seeing the numbers and the stats and how educated African people are, and how, we're doing very well as far as when you talk about income,
mhm,
we're getting our kudos and flowers. I mean, Nigerians are phenomenal. I mean, I think a lot of African community, but Nigerians are just a different breed on its
mhm.
own. We just have that thing from the roots in our blood everywhere you are. There's just something about us when you have a party, when you go. We don't have to do anything. You just have that natural swag. We just got it
You just
like
have
that.
that
You know what I'm saying?
natural swag. It's just in us. So when you say you go, try to go at least once a year for your business, do you do shows in Nigeria? Do you do, what business are you doing with your
So,
business in Nigeria?
combination of business and pleasure.
Okay.
So I think I will always have a connection to Nigeria. I give back
Mm-hmm.
to. So I do stuff with organizations. So I haven't done any shows, but I used to be a writer with This Day magazine
Okay.
in
Okay.
Nigeria, the fashion
Mm-hmm.
magazine. I was one of the fashion columnists for a couple
Okay.
of, yeah, I wrote for them. Yeah, so it's a possibility in the future to have a branch of Aramide, but because of the current economy, kind of had to put a hold to that. But definitely going for shows, visiting, going for business meetings, and yeah, so doing that, those type of things. And also the nonprofit side too allows me to also go to Nigeria and give back.
Great. So when you moved from Waldorf, did that allow you to find a Nigerian community or keep, some of your Nigerianness in while you're here? How do you stay connected while you're here in Maryland?
I don't think you have a choice whether you like it or not. Nigeria communities in Maryland. So I didn't need to look for it because after we moved here, my cousin told us about a redeemed church and we started going there. It was a little bit different from, my church in Nigeria because I felt like they were a bit like deeper life, but we kind of made it work because I like fashion. So we were looked at as worldly uh, when we were going there, just showing off. But no, so coming back to it, I think Nigerian community is strong in the DMV area. So I don't think you're lacking in those areas. I think most of the areas that you would feel the need to want to connect are maybe areas where you don't have a lot of, like the really cold areas and stuff like that. But Nigerians are heavy in the DMV area. So I didn't have a problem with that.
Great, great. Yeah, yeah. I mean, in some places, Nigerians are all over the place, like
Oh,
all, but you have to be like seeking them in some places and to really make that connection. One of the narratives that I heard, I want to check in with you is, when sometimes you're trying to comment about what's going on in Nigeria, and people say, look, if you really care about them, you should come back. So I want to find out, do you stay on top of what's going on in Nigeria? And if you do, comment, do you think that you have to go to Nigeria to make a difference, or can you make a difference from where you are?
well, first of all, I don't even keep up with everything in the US, so I can't even keep up with everything in Nigeria. But do you need to go back? No and yes. If you think you shouldn't go back at your own expense to suffer if you're not prepared for it.
Hmm.
Nigeria is not for the weak at heart.
Hmm.
If you've lived in the US and you want to go back to Nigeria, uh, you better make sure that you have some sort of financial and have a return ticket. So if you want to return anytime you want. I
Hmm.
mean, Nigeria is good, but you have to have backup. You do. I mean, you can't say because you want to help a nation, you should do it at your own expense. And the question is, the people that you're willing to go make changes, are they willing to accept the change? I
Hmm.
have friends that were in the UK and different countries, and it's particularly a friend of mine who was from the UK. Her husband, she's in Nigeria right now, but they've gone back and forth. And they're doing very well. I wouldn't mention her name, but the thing is, when she was doing a project with the government and I think the British government or something sent money, and she was dealing with the financial, and while she was dealing with the numbers, and she was like, "Oh, this is the way it's done." And they told her, they said, "You better mind your business and stay in your lane if you don't
Hmm.
want to lose your life."
Hmm. Hmm.
And they were sending her a message. She was there to make a change. She was comfortable where she was. They're doing very well financially, but they warned her that she needs to stand clear. And the same applies for a lot of programs. You have to be very, very careful and tread lightly when you go to those kind of areas. You can make a change from a distance, but not at the expense of your life
Hmm.
and your family.
Hmm.
So you have to do your own research before you jackpot
Hmm. I know.
or jackpot, go to Nigeria.
Akpa or Jakpada, do
Jackpot
your
or Jackpot.
research.
There was actually a documentary I watched in Silver Spring recently. It was nice. I mean, you have people
Hmm.
that, but most of the people that are going back, you better believe that they've done their work and they are very heavy financially.
Hmm.
So, like I said, if you're not there
Hmm.
and you don't have the money and
Hmm.
you don't have a backup plan, don't do it. What do people like us that want to give back is I can donate, I can help organizations, I can help people. I do that in my own way. And of course, some people pay in larger dollar amounts. They can give back, they can establish things in the community. As long as you have someone that is trustworthy that can support that for you. That's another thing, trust. But it's not impossible to go back. But you have to have some kind of backup plan, but have a strong financial backing. You can't just go back and you don't have anything. Just make sure you have a return ticket. That's my 2 cents.
Just make sure you have a return ticket.
You do. You
On
should.
talking to you, learning from you, your determination from being that quiet person who is like spending time with herself and being the bookworm to really looking at the world and say, hey, if somebody else has done it, I can do it. To coming back to the US and going to school, taking your predominantly Caucasian environment and say, yeah, okay, moving somewhere where you found yourself amongst people that you trust, but went on to get married and raise your children, and knowing how to balance, right? From, yeah, our parents did it this way, but maybe some, maybe not all, and just moving ahead. And then birthing Aramide and having Aramide grow from being a for profit to having a non-profit component, knowing that Nigeria it's not like you can't go back, but it's important to have a plan, have a return ticket, make sure you know what you're going to do, and doing that. Remember, before we round up this conversation, anything you'd like to share about, being in here in the US, maybe some lessons, final tips on how somebody can stay and maintain the focus. I know one important thing I hope somebody's going to take away is you don't have to buy a $500,000 bag. You just have to work on your confidence, and you can really step up and step out, knowing that, you have to be intentional, feel good about yourself. It reflects in the way you look at. But this, some from you to say, somebody who's listening, you want this person to remember, I listened to this conversation with Aramide and I walked away with this. What would that be?
Mark 9:23 says, all things are possible if you believe.
Amen.
My foundation is based on God. How far I've come, the source is God. We can work hard, but when God blesses us, He multiplies it. Sometimes it's not just by your efforts, but who is the backbone, the sovereign power behind your backbone, my family, my marriage, my everything. It doesn't mean that hard days won't come, but the way you handle it is different when you have God. And our stories are different. Everyone's story is different. One of the key things I would say, not to compare ourselves with others. Sometimes we can get carried away and say, well, what about this person? What can I be? But your story is different, and God's path for you may be different from this other person. Yeah, this person may look like they've gone ahead of you or speed. Oh my God, and I need to recover. But staying in alignment with God's will is more important than anything, and letting God direct your part. But I think even so strongly, like I said, besides the God being a foundation, but in your hearts, knowing that nothing is impossible and having that focus, I think is important, is one of the key things that has kept me grounded, God being the foundation. And I'm not trying to be religious, but that really has been my foundation from growing up. And I'm forever thankful for that, but I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Great. I mean, and there's no taking away from that. We have to understand that you're talking from the bottom of your heart, because you can talk about your 1 degree, your 2 degree, your 2 masters, your doctorate, but at the end of the day, she's saying God.
Absolutely.
She's saying being in His will. She's saying trusting him. She's saying, forget about who's doing what and who's doing what. Are you where He wants you to be? And that's the best thing that can happen for you. Aramide, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for coming, and I really enjoyed having you. And to you of yours and our listeners, hey, let us know what you think. What part of this conversation resonated with you? And remember, you can always like, share, and comment. And I'll come back to you next time with another guest. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Sure. Bye.
Bye.